Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. Thanks again for joining me for the second time today. Your time is precious, so I'm certainly not going to waste it. Let's get right to it. If you needed any more validation for reasons to concern yourself with matters of self-reliance, self-sufficiency, and preparedness, look no further than this video today. This is going to be an urgent word of caution to anybody who is on the fence about prepping. There was an article released today entitled "The Super Rich Preppers Planning to Save Themselves from the Apocalypse." Now, with a headline like that, you might think to yourself, man, that's probably from some alternative fringed out tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy website. You're dead wrong. In fact, it comes from the very reputable Guardian. Okay, Guardian is a somewhat used to be alternative, but now fairly mainstream news website written by a guy named Douglas Rushkoff, I believe. He is an investigative journalist who researches techie stuff, futuristic stuff. Now, apparently he was invited to partake in this think tank with these super wealthy, high net worth millionaire/billionaire preppers who are preparing to save themselves. Okay, tech billionaires who are buying luxurious bunkers and trying to wargame and strategize how they can ride out a major calamitous future that they imagine is going to come by way of social unrest, environmental collapse, nuclear explosion, solar storm, unstoppable viruses, cyber attack, the list goes on. That's what they are preparing for. Like I said, if you needed any more validation that you are on the right track, look to the people who effectively run our society and see what they're doing. Is it called crazy when they do it? You know, is there a stigma attached to their desire to self-preserve? In fact, the government are the biggest preppers out there. They spend billions of dollars a year on, maintaining their own bunkers to ensure continuity of government. If you need any more information about that, read the book called Raven Rock, How the Government Planned to Save Themselves While the Rest of Us Died, not counting the trillion in military expenditures to keep the whole thing aloft. Now, this article was interesting. Now, we've done lots of videos on this, probably a half dozen videos about the elites preparing to ride out SHTF. In fact, we've had Ron Hubbard, the owner of Atlas Survival Shelters, who's been building bunkers all around the world like crazy for many, many years. But in particular, in the last year, he said he's met almost a dozen billionaires who are, and I just talked to him this past weekend, so he's still, building these massive bunkers for billionaires who are preparing to ride out the apocalypse. Now, if these guys are doing this, and if, the guys that Ron knows are doing this, and there's 700 billionaires in the world, then don't you think that, if these guys are vocal about it, what I'm trying to say is they're all doing it. They're all preparing for it. They all see the writing on the wall. These people are very, very informed, which is why they're in the positions that they're in. So don't listen to the Walmart zombie who tells you that you should just go and watch TikTok videos and don't concern yourself with this preparedness nuttiness. The most important people in our society are preparing for the end of the world. That's really all you need to know. And I know it sounds crazy, but, this is from The Guardian. Anyways, so I'm going to try to get this guy on the channel to break down in a little bit more detail what he discovered at this think tank that he went to. But one of the issues that came up for these billionaires was they knew that they're going to need armed guards to protect their compounds. Okay, they're going to be required, as they say, to protect their compounds from raiders and angry mobs. In fact, one of these billionaires has already secured a dozen Navy SEALs to make their way to his compound if he gives them the right cue. And this is interesting to me because I can only wonder how many private contractors are there out there, operators who have deals like this with very important people to protect their compounds when the shizzy hits the fizzy. I'm guessing quite a few, and of course they're probably under NDA, so they could never disclose. But one of the things that came up was, how do they keep these guys from turning on them when it hit the fan? If you have, you and your family, and you got 8 or 9 grunts outside guarding the compound. Well, how do you prevent them from turning on you after it hits the fan and not just taking everything you have? So they were brainstorming ways to do this, and one of the ways they considered was a special combination locks on the food supply that only they knew the codes to. Now, I don't think they thought that one through, because if you're hiring people with that type of military experience, you can bet that they are skilled in getting information out of people, i.e. torture, and they would make short work of that, I don't doubt. Or making guards wear disciplinary collars of some kind in return for their survival, or hopefully building robots that serve as guards and workers if that technology could be developed in time. Elysium, anyone? That really is the elite's dream, is to not have to rely on human resources that are, of course, fallible and potentially disloyal, and relying on, the Atlas DARPA-inspired robots, Big Dog and friends, to take us out when the shizzy hits the fizzy. And this is why that Tesla robot that they're building, that they're going to integrate the AI that is used in the cars and the optical system, that should concern some people, I think. But one of the core theses that he got from meeting with these people was that they weren't concerned about how they're going to change the future and make it more livable and build a sustainable world for us all, but effectively they are concerned with one thing, and that's escaping from the rest of us. He mentions Elon Musk here and his plans to colonize Mars, and I've said this for the longest time, that Elon Musk is the biggest prepper in the world, because he is trying to do the ultimate prepper thing, which is get off the planet before we destroy ourselves. And he has said that. He has said that AI is likely what is going to destroy us if we create it, and that he needs to get his ass to Mars before that happens, or to become a, what does he call it, a multi-planetary species, just in case we decide to destroy ourselves here. He also makes allusions to Palantir's Peter Thiel, reversing the aging process, trying to live forever. Kurzweil talks about that as well, developing artificial intelligence to create the singularity, to empower the elites. There's many, many dystopian, futuristic films about these things. But what you need to understand, guys, that the main takeaway here is that the most powerful, wealthy, well-informed people within our society are preparing for the end of the world. And that's all there is to it. What more validation does a person need? And still, people are going to leave trolling remarks on this channel, but that's okay. Time is the great equalizer. Now, on to the World War Z news. Kiev has urged Crimeans to prepare shelters. If you don't know where Crimea is, look at a map. Crimea was annexed by Russia in 2014. Ukrainians are still pretty pissed about that. What's important here is that they are communicating this message, which has a lot of imminence to it. They said that people should prepare bomb shelters, stock up on sufficient amounts of water, supplies, and charge their power banks right now, because everything will be Ukraine. Now, is this just rhetoric to make it seem like they are big when they are in fact small, and to make it appear as though they are winning this current offensive in Kherson, even though they may not be? Who knows? But we do know one thing, and that is that Russia will use nuclear weapons if it believes that there is an existential risk to their country. And one of those existential threats would be a loss of control in Ukraine. So, like I said before, guys, we are closer every day that goes by with this war raging on and escalating, the closer we get to a nuclear accident. And as ties between Russia and the United States become more frail and become more severed, and the nuclear inspections are not being conducted, and all of those things, we are at a much higher elevated level of DEFCON. And they're never going to tell us, though. We're always going to be the last to know, okay? And we're always going to be called crazy if we think about it too much. Even though tens of Russian diplomats are being asked by the U.S. State Department to exit the country but before the end of 2022, right around the same time that they're going to be putting this oil price cap into place. For Russian oil, we're going to be doing a dedicated video on that because I believe that is a very important video and is going to have very serious implications for the global oil market and just markets in general, and of course our lifestyles, because the price of oil is global, unlike the price of natural gas. Now, Erdogan has threatened Greece with war over the Aegean Islands. Turkey and Greece share a border with each other, and these Aegean Islands are a contested region. Apparently, there might be some hydrocarbon deposits within there. It might be strategically useful for them, but I'm thinking it probably has to do with resources. We're entering a period where countries will begin to war over water and resources, and this could be the beginning of the breaking up of NATO. If you have Greece start to war with Turkey or vice versa, then one of those countries may have to exit NATO, and it probably will be Turkey, who has seen 181% inflation over the last 2 years, who also has some pretty strong alliances with the Russians. So I would not be surprised if you've seen a handful of Eastern European countries, Belarus, Russia, Turkey, form some kind of alliance in the future. It's not out of the question. Russia has admitted to effectively weaponizing natural gas. Okay, so it's no longer an issue of, well, we can't fix the turbines and the turbines ain't working. Dmitry Peskov has basically come out and said, look, you know, the reason for this shortfall of natural gas and the closing of the Nord Stream 1 pipeline is due to Western sanctions, and until those sanctions are lifted, we ain't turning the gas back on. We'll see what happens. We'll see if they can get it fixed and if the gas is going to get turned back on. But if it doesn't get turned back on, it's going to be hell in Europe this year. We're talking about Europe only having about 20% of its natural gas needs met if Russia gas stops flowing through the pipes. Yes, they're all at 75 to 100% of the reservoirs being full, but those reservoirs are supplementary. 80% of the gas comes directly through the pipe, especially if it's a cold winter. If it's even a few degrees colder than normal, that's going to put immense strain on the natural gas system there, and it's going to create chaos. And remember, the price of a lot of commodities like fertilizer, CO2 was another one that I got an email about, steel. The price of these things is global. And even though our price of natural gas won't be affected in North America, things that that use natural gas to be made in Europe, you know, are going to increase in price, and that will in turn affect our ability to access goods at relatively cheap prices that we're used to. So Europe is preparing to ration stuff for what they're saying could be the hardest winter since 1944, as natural gas prices are nearly 10 times higher than their 5-year average. As some of you know, there was a major protest in the Czechoslovakia and Prague. So I think that that's only the beginning of what will likely be a series of protests, which will likely escalate into major riots at some point if people, you know, have nothing left to lose. OPEC has decided to cut production after an oil price slump. So what we are going to see transpiring in the next 3 months, and it's going to be very critical, by 2022, I would be very, very surprised if we escape 2022 without some major SHTF incident. Because you're going to have 3 things happen. You're having OPEC cut production, you're having the US Strategic Oil Reserve cutting outflows in October, and you're going to have the Russian oil price cap in December 4th, which could cause the price to skyrocket or cause it to plummet. We're going to be doing a video on that in the not so distant future. With respect to the green agenda, interesting piece of information here. Did you know that 70% of all photovoltaic solar panels are made in China, and almost all of the lithium batteries are made in China as well? And they also account for 40% of all finished solar installations. How much do you think the US contributes to global output? 3%. And a lot of that is in specialty products like power film that we sell at CanadianPreparedness.com, which are very high end and for use in a ruggedized military environment. But these aren't the solar panels that you're using to green the planet. The point here is that if the US wants to withhold these chips and they want to decouple with the Chinese, yet they're pushing this idea of anti-inflation bill that has all this greenwash stuff in it, there's no possible way that they are going to be able to build out a substantial non-renewable energy infrastructure without China's industry. It's virtually impossible. Okay? So this is why the green agenda is dead. It's dead. All the agreements are dead. The coal plants are firing on all cylinders. I mean, it's dead. So you may or may not agree with Professor Guy McPherson, and I don't agree with his date, but I do agree. One thing is for certain, that nothing is going to be done if it is a problem, and it's going to be too little too late. And you can rest assured that the wealthiest amongst us are making their plans for how they're going to ride it out. Lake Mead is at an all-time low, continues to drop. If you're not in a drought, you are in a forest fire zone. Go check out firesmoke.ca. We've had smoke today. If you're not in a fire smoke region, you're in a heat wave region. If you're not, you're in one of the regions where 80 million Americans are currently under a flood watch today, from New England to the southern Appalachians. So no matter where you are, strategic relocation is pretty difficult nowadays. NBC has declared, or at least one of their reporters, Tiffany Cross, said that Republicans are the biggest threat to democracy, and we don't separate right-wing extremists from the Republican Party anymore. Now, you guys know I don't get political. I try to focus strictly on preparedness. No matter what your political disposition is, I think it's pretty clear that there is a major rift happening in the United States, which is only going to intensify, and we truly could start to see some very, very extreme behaviors from both sides in the coming years ahead. Roland Martin, who has a YouTube channel here, political pundit, if you will, talks a lot about race-related issues, says that we are at war with these people. These folks are evil. So the divide is growing just in time for the collapse of the whole system. How convenient is that for the people who are going to skip off scot-free into one of their islands with their deep underground bunkers? And don't think they can't dig deep enough. They can dig as deep as they need to dig. They got the technology. Maybe that's why Elon Musk is developing the Boring Company, so we can dig some deep-ass tunnels into the earth. Somebody sent me a message about CO2 shortages. If you don't know, CO2 is used not only for the greenhouse effect, but is also used in fire suppression, food processing, water treatment, packaging creation, industrial processes, and welding, as well as dry ice. So apparently the price of these things has gone up by nearly 680%. And this is all related to that whole fertilizer, natural gas web of things. So expect the high prices to continue. We'll see what the CPI comes out with this month. I imagine the CPI may actually be down due to gas prices, which continue to go down, which is, I think, the result of demand destruction because things just got so expensive and people can't afford it, as well as some of the refineries starting to catch up. But we will likely see a major oil spike, if not high volatility in the oils market come the end of the year. I'm going to be releasing a dedicated video on the Russian oil price cap issue in the coming days ahead. Thank you guys for watching. Stay safe. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Go check out our other videos we released in the last few days. They're still mildly relevant. And go and check out www.canadianpreparedness.com for high quality survival gear, which has been vetted by yours truly. I only sell the stuff that I personally use. This is not drop shipping. We don't ship from Amazon. Our rates are better than Amazon. We do free shipping over 200. We're trying to get you quality stuff that's going to help you survive. I don't want you guys to get swindled on the junk, because there's just a lot of companies that are taking advantage of people's increased interest in this area. And we've been here from the start before it was cool. So take it for what it's worth. Thanks for watching, guys. You stay safe. Canadian Prepper out.